Welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here in Mendham and such. So anyway, video. So the general subject is the sort of determinism, but more specifically the memes, the environment, the what's dictating the course of the human being's progression, what's making us what we are. And I just guess I'll analyze some people who are things and point out how they could be better than that. And they probably know they could read a better script than that. And that thought in their head should maybe trigger some sort of desire or motivation to do better, than being an asshole. And you see it so many, it's just everywhere now. It seems human beings have really become hard to like, from my perspective. The the people who seem to have any kind of shred of decency seem to be insanely sensitive and silly in their expectations. They don't just want equal rights, so to speak, or some sense of fairness. They expect and demand that you love them and think their fat ass isn't fat and all kinds of crap like that. And the other side are these glib people who are just totally self-obsessed, and if everything is just a matter of taste. If something doesn't smell good, they just assume it's evil. This just some sort of visceral what's in it for me perspective in which they can think absolutely no further. And it's just so small-minded. So anyway, I don't want to pigeonhole the whole world into those two categories, but it seems like those are the only two categories that have any they're allowed on the main playing field. So there's only people who kick themselves in the face, and only people wiping their ass with their hand and then licking it or something. So there's only two kinds of retards allowed to be professional humans. It seems. The ones that the media shows up and sticks a microphone in front of. That's the only two there are. It's silly, unrealistic, liberal propagandists, and then the more insipid right-wing loonies who think people would inherit money earned it. That kind of thing. I mean, it's just so fucking stupid. And they not only have earned the privileges of the better life they can afford, but they've earned the right to essentially control our society through their control of the corporate toilet paper, or intellectual property. Same difference. Anyway. So it's sort of that subject. So I guess there's two things that are related. Again, I've been watching a couple of my old videos, just trying to document some of my old arguments and try to improve upon those. And so a video I had seen was sort of on this general subject of determinism and the idea, the subtle complexity of what we become invested in. And I even used the word invested as individuals. What turns us on, so to speak, or we end up having a passion for, or give a damn about. And so I had talked in the video somewhat about that and how we're byproducts of circumstances, and all that is sort of mechanical and determined based on the culture you grow up in, and a lot of stuff will decide all those things. But there is this element of knowledge, in the sense that we become intelligent enough to see if we're living a dumb script, or we're reading a dumb life script, and we sort of are. I have related in previous videos sort of my own transition through that process in terms of the doing it as an amateur, so to speak, without any better guidance than the metaphors of people like Charles Dickens or something, where they triggered my own thought process, where he didn't say it the way I would have said it. He didn't just come out and say, you're being an asshole, and that's a shameful waste of your potential. But this is the same story he's telling. He just doesn't say it as directly. Sort of. I mean, sort of. The messages are sort of direct. I mean, Scrooge is kind of a direct statement of you suck and you got to do better than that. And it's the process of becoming better that's the interesting process. Clearly determined, you must be visited by the ghost, and you must have certain thought patterns and memories must arise for you to realize you're an asshole or something. To see it when you look in the mirror, you have to have some knowledge of what an asshole looks like. You've got to know that there's a trick to it, the Dorian Gray kind of trick. That there's one portrait for the public and one portrait, that's your private portrait. And, that private one's a lot uglier. A lot uglier. And you see it every day. And so it should scare you. And you should be concerned that you're being an asshole. There's just so many people. They're just such colossal assholes. You say, how could they be such assholes? It occurs to me to say that. One of the biggest reasons I'm an anti-natalist is I don't want to be one of you, one of the regular humans out there. They're disgusting embarrassments to intelligence and almost everything. Any dignity we have, they've destroyed. By being so preposterously trivial and silly and selfish and thoughtless and dumb. Really dumb. So, I'm heading for a conversation about that. And how to do it. So anyway, the modern mystic did make a few videos, and he did use the word investment, and he was talking about his life. And I guess since he said it, I can talk about it. But he's, I haven't, whatever. Just maybe because of a 10-year history with Nick, I'm clinging to some sense that this is a smarter man than he is, or deeper. But in many ways, he is so socially disconnected from my opinion. Any real knowledge of real society, real culture. He has book culture, but not human culture. Real grit kind of experiences, I would say. So he worked as a butler of sorts, whatever, my man Godfrey or whatever, for the filthy rich. And he's talking about his, how much he really loved. If you're, so I thought about it. I've worked for rich people, and it never occurred to me to have any respect for them, just because they were hideously wasteful, and that's all I could see is the huge waste of, I would spend days cutting the grass that bordered their driveway. It was so long, and it was planted with trees, so there was lots of weeds, lots of stuff. So, but I mean, it was, just silly shit. And you're just all this waste, for the comfort of two assholes. All this labor that was invested in their comfort, and they're so fucking high maintenance, and that's what seemed obvious to me. Now, obviously, that's not how Nick looked at it. And I also was paying, getting paid shit, so it wasn't like I was I had any reason to feel respected or properly, there was nothing commensurate in terms of any kind of respect in the relationship. So yes, it was very difficult to feel any kind of sense of being essential or feeling vital because of that lack of respect in the sense of the minimum wages and that kind of stuff. So Nick was paid well, apparently, just to drive his fancy cars across Europe at the whim of his rich employers, and go yachting and such, and polish the yacht and whatnot. And I suppose if I had been paid well by the wealthy, I might have been corruptible. I mean, I might have thought that this was some sort of valuable work I was doing. I might have had the delusion, because I was paid well, that somehow I was doing good work, and I wouldn't see the obvious waste in it, that my industry, my capacity to do in the world was being pissed away on these trivialities. And of course, if you have a job that's also fun, it isn't cleaning up diarrhea or something, maybe it's also easier to fall into that kind of trap and think there's some value in being a servant, to these pigs. And they're pigs, they're the pigs in Animal Farm. They're disgusting. It might be a good way to metaphor it would be to do another Animal Farm and just point out those kind of relationships, because to demonstrate more flaw in our social circumstances than the minor one corruption of the pig's hypocrisy in Animal Farm, by having more of those, the insidiousness of the servitude to indulgences and power and all that kind of crap, and how it doesn't earn its respect, it buys it, and it's all quite disgusting. That that bit of human flaw is still unexposed in most cases. I mean, clearly most Americans are comfortable electing millionaires and billionaires to represent them. People who have you don't get rich by being a great guy. You really don't. As a practical matter, you have to underpay somebody. Usually, exclusively, or you have to steal it from somebody else. And so I've sort of had that conversation about these idiots with their bitcoins, and now they have all these new ones coming out. Everybody just feels like they'll just invent a new currency that's just a commodity, and it's just a pyramid scheme. It's just a get-rich-quick scheme. It has nothing to do with anything valuable or facilitating any productive human industry at all. Nothing productive is facilitated by this nonsense. It's all waste and a kind of theft. And that little asshole thing should go off in people's heads and say, I'm really just playing a game where I'm just looking for a sucker so I can take his money. Is that what I want written on my tombstone? Con artist, and that's all I really was. That's all people have. They can't see that. But that's the point, is seeing it. So Nick has a bunch of fondness for a well-rolled cigar or something. I mean, not that he's that trivial, but maybe he is. Properly aged brandy, and just almost a reverence for the the yacht, the fine wood and beautiful chrome and blah 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 blah, and all and unlike me, who sees it as a bunch of wasted labor for a trivial amount of human comfort or gratification. and that labor could have been put to some use in terms of building Hoover dams around the world, and giving people electricity and MRIs or whatever. Generic comforts. I mean, for most people, I would argue that most of their comforts I would consider tortures, but regardless, they consider it valuable to have 10 or 12 cancer surgeries and whatnot. So, whatever. I'm just saying the generic good. There certainly is better goods to do in the world than massaging one pair of breasts perfectly. With it goes back to almost the Jesus kind of story, which is the irony of Judas is the most evil character in the Bible, pretty much, and his crime was to question the waste of the Savior who's come among us, and he's squandering the money for the poor on oil for his feet, having his feet manicured, and he questions why have I forsaken everything to follow this as a theme, and he's evil because he questioned the rationality of a Savior that says things like, the poor will be with you always. I'm here for but a short while. When we're all here for but a short while. Really stupid things for a Savior to say. If there was a Jesus and he did say that shit, I guess he just didn't have a mirror and couldn't see, whoops, that was a bit of an asshole thing to say. Like I said, but we have plenty of mirrors. We have lots of thought memes out there. There's lots of good writers, I suppose. Some good writing from the past. Even the Bible, do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. You could restate that so many ways. Wish on others as you'd want others to wish on you. You can just turn into all kinds of ways of understanding that your broken leg isn't more of a broken leg than anybody else's broken leg, and that the game we're in is, for a rational brain, is to minimize the number of broken legs and not be so concerned with identity of possessors. This whole idea that some people are worth $6 million a year to live and some people aren't worth 60 cents. As people actually die, and are horribly disabled in their life, crippled by all kinds of conditions that could be resolved by just a couple of bucks of medical care. And yet we live in a world where all this squander and waste takes place, and most people don't question it. Now, the fact that you question it, what I'd say is good. That's the first step, is recognizing you're an asshole. The difficult step is knowing what the fuck to do about any of it, how to fight. And I suppose that was a brick wall, I hit, in my teen years, when I recognized I'd like to be a better person than I am. I'd like to think better, in terms of I'd like to be more sincerely generous and more sincerely nice and all that kind of stuff, instead of just pretending, and manipulating in relationships, just seeing what's in it for me. I could see me saying those, my brain saying what's in it for me, and every time I would say it, I would, the little trigger would go off and say, that's not good. You got to do better than that. But doing better than that is the tricky part. So I'd say it's really important to be able to talk the talk. You need to. It's the first step, is to be able to say things like, I'm an asshole, I'm selfish, I'm disabled in some respects by my weaknesses, my passions or whatever, my prejudices. but they're shitty prejudices, and I should try to migrate myself from having them control me. I should try to gain control, I being the better me that can recognize I need to be better. That force should somehow make me into a more capable. And so that's where you find out what you want for yourself, but there's work in acquiring it, perfecting yourself. You could say, I want to perfect myself. Well, that could be take a lifetime of practice, and work to accomplish that. And who wants that? So, I can relate one kind of idea that I had when I was a kid. So once I realized I suck, in the sense that I had this revelation that I was always conniving for my interest. Well, not always, but most of the time, everything was a selfish calculation. And I said, that's not going to do the world any good. I'm not going to be a friend to anything with that thought process. And then I kind of realized that it was all rationalizations, these excuses I make to be an asshole. And so then I became a vegetarian because, that was one of the things I recognized. I was just making excuses. I was doing what people do, Oh, the animals don't think much, and they don't feel much, and they don't do this, and they don't do that, and I don't have to account for it. I can pretend it's not a real crime. And, when I knew logically, yeah, it is. It's just idiotic to think their brains don't work. They're gooey and mushy just like ours, full of little neurons, and the neurons work. And it's just silly for me to think they don't. Just a convenient rationalization so I can not have to do the work of being a better person. I can pretend I can be a good person without doing any work, without compromising my own comfort. And obviously I figured out that wasn't going to work. So an example, though, was one with, back in my youth, there was a thing called the Peace Corps. And I rationally knew this isn't going to work, because you can't give people a tiny bit of civilization. It's like you can't give people like clean windows and then leave everything else the same and expect the windows to make the rest of their house clean. It's going to go the other way around. The mess of the rest of their civilization is going to destroy any of the little features you fix. So I kind of knew that you feed the world, they make a mess with the food. Then, in the sense, they just make more kids to starve the next day. And so I knew the Peace Corps wasn't working because I knew it was too little. And it wasn't enough to overwhelm the cultural filth, so to speak, they were attempting to address. The ignorance and the barbarism and, the primitiveness of their life. But you just can't give them gold silverware and expect it not to get tarnished and destroyed in the end. But I knew part of that was maybe a rationalization to say, I don't need to do any of this shit. I don't need to go save the world, because if you don't do it right, there's no point in doing it at all. And that was sort of the statement my brain made. And I still think that's valid, but it's also convenient, because it does give you cause to say, well, you can't fix that, so I don't have to knit band-aids. I don't have to invest a bunch of time trying to fix it, because it can only be fixed in a big way. You can either do it right or you don't do it at all. It's a simple cliche, but it's a truism. But I did admire the fact that these people were willing, to go into these kind of really crappy and dangerous environments. All kinds of microbes will get you, all kinds of shit, and they were willing to do this. Now, maybe they're willing to do it because they're going to get a good human award, and it'll be good for a job interview or something, and give them some sort of status politically, or maybe they're just conniving, like many people did in the military. The few rich people that went in the military, went in the military because they knew they would have kind of safe jobs, and it would look good on their record. But So, maybe. But I also knew there was some people that I think they just did it because they wanted to help. And they thought this would help. And so it was a sincere effort to do something sincerely good. And it was really admirable. And so that was one of those things where I would find fault with myself for finding excuses to say that's not for me. Now, it certainly wasn't for me in the sense that I just knew too much about you have to be kind of foolish to put yourself at that kind of risk for the marginal potential reward, and so it would have been more of a burden for me because I couldn't be dumb enough to enjoy the ride. It's like if if Homer Simpson is the roller coaster maintenance man, and you've seen him sleeping on the job, and you've seen the rust and the crud on the wheels, and you just can't ride the roller coaster with the same kind of you can't get anything out of it, anything good, because you have too much knowledge of what it really is made out of, how stupid it is. So that's a long bunch of stuff to explain a simple concept of how ideas come to us, occurs to us. We're able to see something through these experiences. So the difference between me and Nick would be is that yes, he worked much longer for the rich, and he was petted probably. That dog was treated a lot better. They treated him, the dog, better than I was treated as a dog, and therefore I wasn't a dog who found any connection or anything tying me to that world and with any kind of respect or endearment, because it fed me lousy and it treated me like shit, and so there was no reason for me to have any devotion, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Where he has reason because he was well rewarded in a sense with pleasurable work and a respectable salary, where I got the opposite of that from the rich people I worked for. All right, so it's just it might just be a circumstantial thing. I guess I'd still argue that this has more to do with more than just your personal experience. It has to do with what perspective you've gained in terms of understanding the bigger world you live in. And I guess just from an earlier age, I was feeling guilty and feeling underdone, that I really wasn't performing well enough. And so there was a lot more of, I guess I was just a lot more impervious to a few pets in the head changing my perspective, I suppose. Something like that. A few doggy treats weren't going to fix what I knew was a bigger problem. Anyways, that was a video in itself almost. But you could go on and on about that kind of thing, and I guess I really didn't get to the deterministic part, but it's I could argue that the future's already written, but part of what's already written is the part, for example, where I read the script I was reading, the script of my life, and I was reading it, and I said, this sucks, and I'm not going to read this shit. And I started rewriting the script. That's also part of the determinism. Part of the determinism is the realization that you're reading or living a stupid life and that you got to do better. That you don't want to be just something that left the place worse than you got it. You don't want to be an asshole. And that's the scripture reading, is asshole. So, speaking of assholes, so there's somebody gave me this link to, I don't know a lot of stuff that goes on YouTube and who's popular and who's what, but I don't know what this Andy Worski thing is, but I watched 2 minutes of it, and he linked me to a part. I suppose it might be just spectacularly bad, but apparently it has something to do with vegan gains versus some JF character, which apparently is Johnny Fox maybe. But anyway, I don't really know these characters very well. I know Vegan Gains is a vegetarian, but he's he's made some good arguments. I mean, he's about animal welfare, but I suppose it's in some respects doesn't go far enough. But he's also got sterilized, so he's sort of anti-natalist, and so that's Well, anyway, I don't think of him as being somebody exactly connected in any direct ways to my philosophy. But anyway, so this Andy Worski guy, I don't know, it's like two kind of foreign guys, speak good English and all that kind of stuff, not sliding that for that, but it just smells like Beavis and Butthead. I mean, they're just, this is so trivial, so glib. You're just saying, how can these assholes look at themselves in the mirror and not say, I can read a better script than this. I know I can. I can be part of something better than making excuses for every shitty circumstance that exists in the universe and saying it's all okay. But anyway, so I'll play some of this shit. I mean, it's just, there are millions of people that think this way, and this is the Donald Trump fan. Is this kind of thinking, this small mind, I mean just minuscule mind of thinking they're worth it, that any human should be satisfied, that you could literally live next to Adolf Hitler and he's torturing people next door and just pretend it's none of your business. It's amazing.
Flanders butter, $2 Canadian. Can we hunt for meat in the soylent state?
Can we hunt for meat in the soylent state? Wow. I mean, it doesn't take much of a joke anymore, does it? I mean, I'm like from the George Carlin kind of era where the joke actually had to be told. There was a story to it. I mean, you can't just say something that's stupid and laugh, can you? I guess maybe.
Best was some guy was talking in the chat. He's dying.
Oh, okay. It's coming out of the speaker. It's not supposed to be doing that. All right. Technical difficulty. Should be better now. Stupid echo.
The chat was so fun today. You were talking about the queen chicken, and he's like the egg state.
Sorry, those are just darn killer jokes. But whatever. Matter of taste and conditioning, and so this is what the world is creating. And it's a weird thing, because I've said in the past, I mean, I'm a byproduct of the world, in the sense that the world created me, the world around me. And yes, some of the ways it created me were reverse psychology kind of ways. I mean, they gave me the obvious example of how to do it wrong, and so I figured out how to do it right kind of thing. So it was kind of a negative education that got me to where I am. And so in a sense, I'm saying, well, so then I am the one creating these assholes. So somehow I'm not doing my job right if this is how they get byproduct into an identity. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't make me. I have more influence on other people than I have on me, just as you are more responsible for me, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? We're reflections of the world around us.
Oh man, I'll read
Okay, go for it.
I was going to go for the big joke now. I have no idea what this is.
AW, $2. If plants could scream, would you still eat them? Ask yourself. $5. Can JF? Oh, ask yourself is the guy we debated before.
Yeah, I
Can
debated.
So why don't you answer the first question? It's a reasonable question. If they could scream and you knew the screaming was because they're actually having a neurological experience of pain and suffering, like you would have, just like you would have, would you still torture them? I mean, it's is that a difficult question? You're worth it, right? You're allowed to torture things. It's just part of your license because you're worth it. You're worth torture. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and me as well. Can
Oh, you
JF?
did? I didn't know.
Yeah, Chris and I both debated, and we were stuck on that alien question for a long time. Can JF hashtag name the trait true of animals, which
The alien thing would be as if aliens are getting eaten, but they don't seem to have any problem with that. Tough luck is their attitude. They would do nothing. So if there was a country, say, I don't know, any example, Cuba, and they just decided to create concentration camps and put people in the concentration camps, let's say white people, these guys would say, who cares? Not our problem.
if true, of humans, which justify a worker queen system to feed aliens. LOL.
No, that I cannot justify. It's gonna be a part of the population of humans is gonna get captured and farmed. So be it.
Yeah, I mean, what is that as logic? So be it. That's okay. It just really doesn't matter how expensive we make this game. So if we said it's more fun to play soccer with knives in our feet, in our shoes, and they actually killed people, and then a quarter of the spectators were also killed, or injured. This idiot would say, that's okay. That's an acceptable price. Let's get rid of all the regulations about how well your car works on the road and having brakes and all that stuff. And we'll just kill more people, and so be it. Who cares? We're not here to fix anything or to try to make things more efficient or to prevent harm to feeling things. That's not what your brain should think is an important thing to do on this planet. It's not at all important to prevent harm happening to feeling things. That's a silly expectation for something your brain should spend any time contemplating. I mean, how does a video like this poor get 85,000 views? I mean, generally positive. Why aren't, how could it not just be vomit worthy? But how did Trump get elected? These kind of idiots.
I'm not saying it's morally good or morally bad, and I'm not saying there's a.
It's not about whether it's morally good or bad. You can't recognize that it's a good or bad thing just from a rational perspective. Just logically, you can't figure out that, no, that can't really be good. There can't be any profit in that. That's got to be totally wrong. Having people farm to feed aliens, no, that can't possibly work out. Shit. He needs to make it a moral question? It's like saying, I can't figure out that white isn't black. I can't figure it out. It's too complicated. What?
Special trait for these humans. They will get picked for some reason, and so be it.
And so be it. I mean, just amazing statement. Just amazing that they can't think enough to say, if I get a broken leg, it's bad. If I get cancer, it's bad. If I get lots of things, it's bad. And if it happens to somebody else, it can't possibly. I'm not magic. I'm not the one who gets to have the bad things. The bad things also happen to other people, and it's just as bad as what happens to me. I'm not making special mega badness here. It's snake eyes is snake eyes is snake eyes is snake eyes, and we all should be fighting against snake eyes. We all should be trying to rub them off the dice. Just logically, and like I said, the minimum this is like back to the Peace Corps argument. Whatever the hell that is, something just blew up. I'm not asking you to go to Africa. I'm not asking. Nobody's expecting you to be a hero here. The minimum is don't talk trash. Don't sit there and pretend people shouldn't think it's bad, or there's nothing to see here, nothing to worry about. Torture isn't an important subject. I mean, the minimum is just saying, gee, yeah, that's creepy as fuck. Gee, is that too hard to say? Oh man, that would make it weird to live, knowing that there's, people being ground up just because they pulled a straw. And I got lucky, I pulled the long straw, they pulled the short straw when we were 6 years old, let's say. And that's the only difference between torture and glib, ha 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 ha, fun boy bullshit. That's a silly game. You can't say the words. No, that's a silly game. We gotta make better rules than that. I gotta put some deserved shit in here. Give the short straw to Hitler and shit. Let's make the short straws go in the right pockets. Let them be food. Let Hitler be food. Let Trump be food.
They become farm animals.
Yeah, and Guardian, $2. I checked your DM and you had some good questions, dude. Atia Sazbo,
dude. So patronizing.
$5. VG. Many people, especially in the politically right, don't believe in climate change. Inform the idiots about how vegan lowers your carbon footprint. Did you want to respond to that?
So Beavis is asking Butthead, well, what do you think, Butthead? You have some Butthead thing to say about that one too? Like, does it make any difference somehow? Climate's going to change, so what? It's like there's a clogged sewer pipe, and you just leave it clogged. Fuck it. Yeah, let it flood the basement. Who cares? It's retarded.
How veganism lowers your carbon footprint. Oh yeah, it probably is the case. I'm not informed precisely, but it probably is the case. But
yeah, who cares? It's not important. I mean, I don't think it's the most important. Well, look, it's one of the biggest causes of greenhouse gases is all the fertilizer and the methane produced, that goes into the production of meat. I mean, to produce meat, you have to grow a lot of stuff first, which is irony. A lot of stuff to feed the meat beastie, and then the meat beastie creates a bunch of destruction of the environment, just being a meat beastie.
yeah, I mean, the heating of the planet will occur.
Why? Because you're gluttons, careless, reckless, selfish gluttons who can't sit there and moderate your behavior in the slightest way for anything called preventing torture, harm, preventing failure, stopping us from plowing into brick walls completely unnecessarily. You can't even say step on the brake. That's how you're so entrenched in being a retard that you can't possibly say a single thing that makes any sense. It's okay to be retarded. It's okay to just plow into brick walls. Because somehow you think you're in some seat where it's never going to get to you. And that's the only reason these glib fucks are talking this shit. Is because they're not on the dinner plate.
Awesome.
Awesome. Creepy.
Where are? Okay. Ask yourself $5. Also, did I read this? No. Ask yourself $5. Also, evolution is a natural process. Appealing to evolution is just a subcategory of the appeal to nature fallacy.
I'm not appealing to evolution. I'm appealing.
You can't. It is the same fallacy, but I mean, it's just kind of silly. You're appealing to a natural process and saying we, even though we have the power to change it, don't change it. So you're saying that we can. You're just saying since the brake pedal isn't pressed, we shouldn't press it because that's interfering with how the brake pedal wants to be. The brake pedal seems comfortable not being pressed, so we shouldn't step on it to prevent hitting a wall. I mean, it's retarded thinking to think that the universe has our best interest, or the universe has already figured out how not to roll snake eyes, when the universe put the snake eyes on the dice. I mean, it's retarded. It's fox guarding hen houses and things. It's just obvious you don't appeal to any natural process, because natural process has no brain, can't see brick walls, can't understand the consequences of torture, can't understand the difference between right and wrong. And here we do all of those things because we have perception and intelligence. And these idiots are essentially just mocking that faculty. Fuck intelligence, be a baboon.
To my preferences. These preferences have evolved, yes.
There's no preferences evolving. We have natural drives that we're clearly capable of modifying. We poo in toilet bowls. Okay, most adults have figured out how to piss in one too. Most. We can moderate. We don't fornicate on the sidewalks, and we don't do this and that. I mean, we can moderate our behavior and our passions and our natural tendencies. And most rational people would agree that moderation is perfectly sensible. It prevents cholera, and it does lots of things, having sanitary systems and doing things in some organized, rational way is very sensible. And yet these idiots are mocking it.
Aiden, $2, vegan gains out of his depth. Mr. Mystics, $5. Are you mad at predators as you are with humans for killing chickens, since we are all equal? Are we artificial organisms beyond the nature?
Right. They're dumb animals. We're supposed to be smart animals. So again, I have to say we're supposed to be. I mean, obviously, I'd say some of us are quite intelligent, and you're just demonstrating that the range that humans can be, is a huge range, and that there are humans that we probably should, like little children, we should have them locked up in playpens, safe zones, to keep them from being menaces to themselves and others. Because they're so fucking stupid.
Order like God. His answer to that would be that humans have more consciousness and have the ability to know how to be a vegan. Therefore, killing an animal would be pointless in his opinion.
Yeah, so the short way of saying that is we can know better. The animals can't. You can't blame an animal because it can't know better. It doesn't get to read Dickens. It doesn't get to do the look at yourself in the mirror and evaluate how productive your life is. It can't even understand those kind of concepts. And you're doing the animal a huge indignity to say that if you could give it the benefit of Dickens, you could give it the benefit of having a civilized intelligence, that they wouldn't behave a hell of a lot better. Because they would, and I think you know that. They'd do a lot better than humans are doing, no doubt, I would argue. Because I don't think anything could fail as badly as humans have to get anything right.
I was a vegan for a long time, and I know all the debate tactics that they believe in. And yeah, here we go.
And yeah, what is that's an answer to something. And yeah.
Nerve Honor, £5. JF, as a naturalist, how do you dichotomize? Sorry, I was just stuttering there. I did not know how to spell that. The nap when to sapiens and other animal species, define the line on nap for humans, not Neanderthals. Chips. Sorry, that's like
very
really
good question.
All right,
Very
go.
good.
Who the fuck? No, did you follow that? The nap?
Question. The non-aggression principle. Do I extend?
Non-aggression principle. Oh, so now we're back to Stefan Molyneux. Oh. Ugh. Gee, that's, kind of nauseating. But anyway, the aggressions come in all kinds of forms. Any kind of imposition. And so the argument really is, what's the first impositions? And the impositions are things like maintaining a broken system, forcing other people to play a bad game, getting your lemon-made car kind of thing. So the first violation of decency you're never going to find it first, but I just, the causal chain of bad memes throughout human history is just huge. And the potential to make excuses. Well, everybody else was doing it, and that's why I couldn't figure out that whipping a slave was evil. It's because everybody else was doing it. I mean, that kind of lame shit. What was the worst imposition was the fact that that person was so poorly maturated by its parents that it couldn't figure out something that obvious. That something's wrong with this picture. Me whipping my hand, person's skin torn, for no better reason than because I claim I own him? Oh, come on. Insane.
And it to any animal? No. The non-aggression principle to me is a contract that humans agree on. In fact,
And agree how? How do you agree to birth somebody into a system? The birthee doesn't agree to the system, and clearly the system is developed over time by different methods of democracy, you could argue, or some sense of a fair argument. And civil wars are fought over these things about what the Union was aggressive towards the South. Is that going to be your argument? That they committed the aggression? I mean, it's illogical.
when you think about it, we don't extend the NAP to criminals, for example. So I'm not saying that chimps are criminal, but I'm saying we use arbitrary lines to decide who we respect.
Again, we use arbitrary lines. So he thinks that understanding fairness and deserve is arbitrary. Like, there's arbitrary rules in baseball. The rules have nothing to do with creating a fair game and a fair contest. There's arbitrary rules in the Olympics. Whether you can wear brass knuckles or not wear brass knuckles. It has nothing to do with any kind of notion of fixing a problem with fairness and function of your contest. Your contest isn't your experiment isn't detecting what you want to detect. You want to detect the best. You want to find the most skilled. And your method isn't doing that if it's arbitrary. So none of our rules are arbitrary. I hate that. I mean, this overuse of this word, in systems. It's just amazing that people just throw this word out as if, that label has anything to do with the truth. When everything, the cause and effect chain is real. It isn't arbitrary. The rules exist for reasons, and often good reasons.
The liberties of.
Beautiful. Recovering meat, $20. Veganism is another ideology that treats us as an abstract thought bubbles and not natural humans in the real world. Animals.
Natural humans in the real world. And so what's the real world? Being a display model, a test instrument for a DNA code, success or failure. We're just the piece of shit that goes out and gets brutalized to test whether we're the test car that they smash into the wall to see if it can see how the seatbelts work. We're just and in grotesque levels of proportion in some species. 10 kids killed for one that survives. If that was the circumstance for you people, if that's how you lived, you watched 9 of your kids die for every one that lived, you'd be saying, oh yeah, I'm playing a great game. This is a great game. There's nothing inside of your brain you don't think, the single thing in your brain that might say, this picture just isn't right. You can't say that? Fuck.
Cannot recognize rights as a concept, and so we can never bargain with them like a human, for fuck's sakes.
Oh yeah, bargain like a selfish cunt. Scheme like a selfish cunt. Never consider systems and system design, and the fact that buildings, civilizations are just like buildings in them. They have to be designed by a competent architect, somebody who understands what's possible and what's impossible, how the mechanisms are going to behave under stress and tension. Not turds like this making social commentary. Fucking retards saying the building's ugly. It doesn't matter whether it's stronger and better and more permanent and more durable and more efficient. Fuck rational concepts of productivity. You know, what does it look like to me? Fuck.
It's butternut, $20. Hey, I am now.
What is this? Butternut, $20. I don't know. Would people pay to ask questions? I don't know. What is this?
Bro, I read that one, and thank you very much. I read that it was a DM he sent me and paid $20 so I could see it. I was trying to collect even
$20, so people pay to ask these dorks questions. Oh man. You know, I need a penicillin shot. I'm getting too close to the mega disease.
more questions. On my notepad down here, I had a bunch more, but it's really hard to fit in a bunch of questions when we're having such an awesome talk. But thank you all so much. Gabriel Lopez, another 10R, man. I love you. In fact, male vegans can only ejaculate once a day to avoid health risks. Plan your fuck slash masturbation accordingly. Flanders Bowler, $5.
I bet there's no science in that, but whatever.
Hey JF, I am flying down to Montreal to go see Fate / Heaven's Feel on
Never mind. It's unbelievable. People pay to participate with glib, stupid, ignorant retards. They pay retards to answer questions. What a sick fucking world. Ugh, that was really depressing. So anyway, that's probably enough, right? Yeah, I think it probably is enough. There's just so much crap out there. Ugh, so depressing. Anyway, that's all I can say. It's just so depressing. So depressing. So hopefully this video isn't a total mess. Sorry about the problem with the speakers for that moment, but whatever. Hopefully it's not too horrific. Until the next time, and such. What the hell is this crap? Not a great argument. I don't know. That must be the comment section from the shitty video. But anyway, enough. I'm trying constantly to figure out the best role for me here on Earth. But it is really difficult because all the problems that really matter are going to require more than one man to fix them. Except for the physics stuff, of course. Yeah. That's the problem. The problem is a communicating and understanding of what's wrong in the game and what new rules will fix it. And clearly, most people can't rationally participate in that conversation because they can't even figure out that inheritance doesn't have anything to do with deserve, and a civilization that can't recognize that nepotism can't be your theme song. It really can't. It's really stupid. It's just a bigotry, an ignorant bigotry. Your kids aren't special. You can...
Could be a new post.
That's probably garbage. But anyway, there's never a new post worth reading. Yeah, it is just kind of depressing. There's just so little decent happening. So I do want to say every now and then, I got to say a thank you to the people now and then who donate. Do appreciate it. Really, very nice. So I'm no good at thank yous and all that kind of shit, and I'm uncomfortable even, you know. But whatever, just saying I do appreciate it and such. Yeah, I appreciate things that I don't acknowledge that I appreciate, which is really shitty. It's another character flaw I have, and it's, you know, working on it. But bad habits and all that kind of shit. I'm just no good at. I don't like interacting with people much, unfortunately. You know, it's kind of a liability when you're in the change the world business. But anyway, until the next time and such.